Hello, this is my last speech for the class. Here are my three audience members. All right. So, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This was a famous speech given by John F. Kennedy in 1961 on January 20th. It was in his inaugural address. In this speech, he persuaded and urged Americans to get more publicly involved in public service. So he wanted you to get involved in your community, give your part, and kind of help those around you. He urged this because we're all humans. We all live on this earth together. We all have to live here together. So why not make it more enjoyable? So today I'll persuade you to understand that us as individuals or us as small groups or even large groups can have a large impact on people around the world. So first I'll begin with some statistics showing that there is a problem and it needs to be addressed, and then I'll talk about some things that people have done to help become an individual and make a difference, and then I'll talk about what we can do to make a change. So first, according to suicideprevention.org, about every 40 seconds somebody commits suicide. So that's over 1 million people committing suicide a year. Another one is 7.6 million people die of cancer every year. These are both pretty appalling statistics, and it affects everyone every day. One thing is, the big problem is misinformation. I remember in school there were bully seminars, but there weren't suicide prevention seminars. There weren't nutrition seminars. According to cancerprevention.org, some of the leading causes of cancer are diet, tobacco, carcinogens, and your lifestyle. The food that we ate wasn't good, and I knew it wasn't good for you, so this definitely needs to be addressed. Another thing is, bullying and suicide kind of coincide with one another, but being bullied and then having suicidal thoughts is on a different level. And bully prevention, yeah, tell a teacher, tell somebody to stop, stuff like this, but you can't tell somebody to stop having suicidal thoughts. There's other steps that need to be taken. So another problem is, why does the bully prevention and stuff like that stop after high school or college? Why aren't they given on the news? Why aren't news channels and public figures talking about it more? Why aren't there seminars given in workplace? It's an everyday thing for decades. I believe it needs to be addressed throughout the lifetime, and more tools with the further information that we have needs to be presented. We've talked about some of the problems now. Here's a little story that can kind of show how an individual can help. We're all familiar with the Ice Bucket Challenge. A man by the name of Chris Kennedy started the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. The Ice Bucket Challenge kind of started as just the Ice Bucket Challenge. It didn't have any benefits, didn't do anything for anybody. It was just a challenge. So he was challenged by his brother to do it, and he decided to do this. He wanted to help somebody else. He wanted to donate money. So he has a cousin that's dealing with ALS. So he did the Ice Bucket Challenge, donated his money, and he also nominated his sister's wife and her husband to help out their cousin. And this kind of started the big trend for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So from that point on, according to ALS.org, August of 2014, they raised over $88 million for ALS. A lot of people thought it was pointless. A lot of people just did it for fun, but it did raise money and it is helping. And they still continue to do it until on their website it says every August until we find a cure. So this August there'll be an Ice Bucket Challenge probably going around, and I mean, we can all still participate in it. That's just showing you how one person made a big difference in wanting to benefit others, so pretty selfless. Now what we can do to kind of address both of these problems. With suicide prevention, having these seminars where people talk about it needs to be more implemented. I recommend schools from the beginning of school to the end of school, and also in the workplace. At your meetings, just kind of address it, or even CNN, the local news channel, ABC, do stuff like that. Just talk about the tools from specialists and people that study this to give all of us the tools. If we talked about suicide prevention and healthiness as much as we talk about the presidential debate, I believe the numbers would decrease a lot and our time wouldn't be as wasted talking about Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. Another thing is with nutrition. The nutrition class is telling us what we're eating. In my last speech, I talked about GMO foods and stuff like that. Here's my visual aid, ground beef. This is the ground beef that's made of probably over 100 cows. The cows eat genetically modified corn, and it alters the meat. It alters what we ingest from the nutritions that they receive with the hormones and steroids and everything. And it's not only meat, it's vegetables, everything else like that, all the synthetic foods and things like that that we eat. It's just a big problem that more of us need to be aware of. Another thing is organic food rather is known to be more expensive than conventional. Well, it depends on what you buy. Some things are hard to come by just as conventional food, as organic things are easier to come by as conventional food. It kind of coincides with what you want and what you get. And this goes with the law of business, supply and demand. The more that we want, the more that they'll give us. Just like anything else, the price will drop. So eventually, if we all convert or persuade one another to eat only organic or stuff like that, well, for one, we'll all be healthier, and for two, the price will drop. So then we'll hopefully get rid of all genetically modified food. And not only eating healthy, but exercising. Exercise for 2.5 hours a week is what Harvard News recommends. They also say that living a healthy life is living a happy life. So people that suffer from suicide or dealing with depression and impulsiveness and things like that, if they're happy and healthy, they won't